Where were we when this woman called out to the Muslim Ummah, when she said that she has been brutalized, that she has been raped, that she has been tortured? Where were we for her honor? Because in her honor, in her individual case, we saw the honor of the whole Muslim Ummah being violated. Last year, President Barack Obama blocked the publication of certain pictures and photographs that showed clearly United States American soldiers taking part in the violation of Muslim prisoners, particularly Muslim women, in Iraq. He did this to prevent an evident backlash that would have occurred based upon what exists within those photographs. And he did this to protect, quote unquote, the security of the soldiers engaged in the mission in Iraq. It shows clearly then, brothers and sisters, that not just Dr. Aafia Siddiqui, that she is the only one who has been violated as a woman in the war on terror. Rather, there is a whole process that has been employed, the process of humiliation, of degradation, of sexual degradation and humiliation, that has been employed against women in Iraq and indeed, I believe, in Afghanistan. When I was held in the Bagram detention facility, I was subjected to something that I will never ever forget, and that was listening to the sounds of a woman screaming that I was led to believe was a woman from my own family being tortured in the cell next door while I was tied with my hands behind my back and a gun was pointed to my head. Other prisoners also used to hear those screams. And several years down the line, when I was eventually released, I discovered that this woman, alhamdulillah, was not a member of my family, but she was the member of someone's family. She was someone's daughter, she was someone's mother, she was someone's sister. And people remembered this. And I made it a mission upon myself to investigate, to find out who this sister was, who this person was who had been brutalized so terribly, because those screams to this day ring in my head. And I discovered from two very authentic and independent sources that a sister was held there separate to the one that I used to hear. And this sister's number, her prison number, her ISN number, her internment serial number was 650. And they described this woman as being of Pakistani origin, of being in her mid-30s, of being someone who was a mother who had been torn away from her children, and that who had completely begun to lose track and lose the ability to reason properly, that her mental faculties had begun to leave her. And after this, when I spoke of this in public, Sister Yvonne Ridley also began to hear these screams, she said, and went on to do investigations to somebody she named the Grey Lady of Bagram, and tried to discover whether this woman was in fact Dr. Aafia Siddiqui or whether there was another sister. And what we've discovered from this is that whilst we believe completely that prisoner 650 now is Dr. Aafia Siddiqui, based upon a testimony given to me directly by the prisoner, the former British Guantanamo prisoner Binyam Muhammad, who, after I showed him a photograph of Dr. Aafia Siddiqui, he said that this was the woman that he used to see in prison in Bagram in 2004. But despite this, we've also learned that there have been other women in custody, in the US military custody. And it was Sister Yvonne Ridley who said to the Americans, after I asked her to ask them about their process, about their system of detaining women, and they responded by saying that there isn't one, which was a complete lie, because they do detain women. And that was clearly seen in the attempt by President Barack Obama successfully to block the publication of those photographs that showed clearly Muslim women being violated by American soldiers. Brothers and sisters, you all know, of course, as the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, "Ad-dunya sijn al-mu'min wa jannatu al-kafir." The Prophet ﷺ said that this dunya, that this world, this temporary life, this temporal world, is the prison of a believer, and it is the garden and the paradise of the unbeliever. So it should be understood that prison and all the connotations that come around prison, looking after the family of the prisoners, praying for the prisoners, helping the prisoners, feeding the prisoners, freeing the prisoners, is all part of our duty as Muslim, but it also is part of our heritage. We know from the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, when he said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rabbi as-sijnu habbu ilay mimma yad'unani ilayh. He said, Oh Allah, prison is more beloved to me than what they call me to. And what is it that they were calling him to? Evil and wrongfulness. And he said that remaining in prison for him was more beloved, and had it not been for the test of being in prison for something that he did not do, a crime that he did not commit, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not have brought him to the rank and to the level of what we know him today to be, the person who was al khaza'in al-ard, the person who was put on the overseeing the treasury of the world, or the most powerful empire at the time. And it is from that that we understood that the dream that he saw when he was a child became real only through the experience of prison. And it was only through the experience of interpreting those dreams that were realized when he was in prison. So prison, my brothers and sisters, is part of our heritage, and we should not be afraid of it. Rather, we should welcome it. And we should know that despite the walls, we are free. As Sayyid Qutb said in the famous poem that he said, أخي أنت حر وراء السدود أخي أنت حر بتلك القيود إذا كنت بالله مستعصما فماذا يضيرك كيد العبيد. Oh brother, you are free despite these walls. Oh brother, you are free despite these chains. If you held on to the rope of Allah, then what can the scheming and planning and plotting of humans harm you?